Hello, everyone. Welcome to another series and session on mental health issues that we like to talk about. Kelly Taylor usually joins us on these, and she is having some serious difficulty with the technology end of things and getting internet from her home. As you know, oftentimes we find ourselves working from home these days, and so if internet's not working there, it's very difficult to get business done. So I have some guests with me today. Of course, many of you who've tuned into some of our videos know Mr. Nathan Stout, the esteemed Nathan Stout. He's an outstanding advisor, but does so many things around here and depend on him so much. Appreciate him being with us today. And another special guest we have is Erica Jimenez. And Erica, I will let you introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what you do at Craven and what we're doing with the counseling department this semester.
All right. Hi, I'm Erica Jimenez, and I am a military advisor aboard our office at NCIS Cherry Point. And I am also in grad school right now at NC State in a counseling program, and I will be completing my internship here at Craven Community College as well.
And we are happy to have you doing your internship with us and providing your skills and talents and abilities in that capacity as well as in the advising capacity. We'll talk a little bit more about peer counseling as part of the resources that the counseling department can offer as we talk about dealing with stress, anxiety, depression, those types of things. But we'll just go along for the ride today, talk about stress. Let's just be real. About an hour ago, we mentioned Kelly was having internet problems. So we troubleshoot. That's what we do. We figure out things. We triage. We come up with solutions. We look at obstacles as opportunities. So Kelly reaches out to Erica and says, "Hey, Erica, how would you like to be on the video show today about managing stress?" So did you get a little stress response to that, Erica, when she reached out to you? And, "Oh, hey, could you do this today?"
I did. Initially, I was like, and she's like, "You don't have to." And I thought, no, this is a great experience. And of course, I'd love to help out. But yes, my immediate thing was, or response was, I don't know. But I'm glad I'm here and it all worked out. So
absolutely. And
managing stress, that's the key point, managing it.
That's what we do. And you're a parent as well. So we know that parenting is a very stressful thing at times. So you're a pro at managing stress, job and family and being in master's program all at the same time.
Yes, that is the biggest thing, is managing it. I find using a planner is very helpful. I have 3 sections of my planner. I have to list everything out to separate work, family, and school. So that's probably very useful for students, something I highly recommend.
Absolutely, organization. Now, Mr. Stout, he's desensitized to the spontaneous stress that goes on around here. And plus, he was a former Marine, so he knows how to deal with all kinds of spontaneous stress and dealing with things. But it kind of segues us into, stress as the body and the mind's reaction to a challenge, a demand, or a threat, right? And so it can be an emotional or physical tension response. In your moment of, I don't know if I can do this, it's kind of that emotional response to a challenge, right? This is going to be a challenge. And my initial response is, So it was a perfect example of, what stress can do, manifest immediately out of nowhere, unexpected, and then you are to deal with it. So let's talk about the physiological response to stress first, because oftentimes we don't really stop to think about, well, what does stress do to our bodies? Because it's a body-mind type of an effect. And of course, we'll briefly touch on, we said, Erica, about raising a family and working and maybe going to school, getting your, higher education, those types of things. Now, throw into that a pandemic, right? and all the challenges and all the threats and all the demands that a pandemic brings on. Because I don't know about y'all, but well, Nathan does, because well, and you do too, Erica. We work here. You come to inside. Okay, who's in quarantine today, right? Who's been quarantined? It's not a matter of if somebody's going to be in quarantine. It's a matter of who is going to be in quarantine, right? And then you hope for your colleagues that they don't end up testing positive for it while they're in quarantine. And it's just, it's kind of like, well, who's, it's coming for me, maybe, right? I know I got to be in the bullseye sooner or later of it. And just that kind of stress and managing that on top of all the other things. And then, of course, we went through a lot of political stress that was in local regions, state regions, national regions. And if you had the television on, if you had conversations around the water cooler, if you had the radio on, you could not escape those forms of stress as well. And then, of course, economic stress due to a lot of these things going on around us. So, but let's talk about the body. So, Mr. Stout, we'll kind of let you go first. So let's just talk on a personal level. When you start getting stressed, and of course, another good word for stress is pressure. So when the pressure of all these things that we talk about begin to mount, how does your body react? How does your body tell you, Nathan, that you're starting to get a little excessive pressure and stress going on?
I know for me, I started getting some headaches, started sweating a little bit, and then every now and then I can feel like a little tightness in my chest there, a little pressure, like I'm having I'm feeling like the little palpitations, in your heart. But that's I just have to kind of calm myself down and kind of slow my breathing down and things of that nature, just to try to get through that situation.
Erica, how about how does your body alert you? Like, okay, things are a little too excessive right now. The body's alerts. How does it go off for you?
Kind of similar. I'll get a little shaky. I'll get a little sweaty. Sometimes my stomach will start to feel nervous. I think those are kind of my biggest things. I get a little shaky and a little sweaty.
So yeah, and those are oftentimes the most immediate responses to stress. Anytime, of course, nowadays with WebEx and Zoom and all the virtual things, but back in the old days when we stood up in front of crowds and groups and had to give presentations, man, I feel my body get flushed. The sweat starts to come on. It's like immediate physiological reaction. Of course, with the virtual stuff, I don't feel that as much because all I get to see is your guys' pretty faces and not everybody else that may be out there listening to this. And headaches, yeah, that's one of the big ones. I think that pressure headache that we get, and then the chest pain, just the heart's racing and you get that tension in your chest, and we talk about. My stomach gets all tore up, right? That's the phrase we hear oftentimes. I'm all tore up on the inside, and the stomach just kind of reacts to the stress that's going on. Some of the longer range things could be, it's like sleep problems. Obviously, if you have a big event the next day, you might not sleep well the night before, right? You're thinking about, oh, I've got this huge event coming up or this huge meeting, whatever test. And so I'm up worrying about it. I'm losing sleep at night. But stress over time can also, really send us to a doctor at some point in time, right? I mean, what can, as far, not necessarily personally, but people that or just situations that where people end up having to go to the doctor just because it manifests physically.
Yes, I actually, on the military side, one of my coworkers, I know she gets really stressed out. She'll have panic attacks. We've had to call the ambulance a few times. And she's really starting to realize triggers Breathing helps her a lot. I know that's really important. She started meditating and worked on breathing techniques. But it's really important starting to realize and notice when you start feeling those things, start calming yourself, talking to yourself, understanding what it is that is causing those reactions.
Yeah, I know for myself, I've had family members and even myself sometimes when you start getting, especially like a lot of the stomach, upset stomach, things of that nature, you got to kind of be aware of maybe ulcers or have, letting that stress build up. And then, like Erica was saying, sometimes you got to get, like the breathing techniques and all these other different things because you have somebody to suffer from a panic attack or just dealing with things in general. And, I've had family members every now, myself every now and then too.
So yeah, the long-term impact, right? Where we just feel fatigued, you just wiped out. Again, if it's a test that we're stressed out about, the great thing is you take the test and it's over with, right? If you have to give, an oral presentation or speak in front of a group, okay, good, I did it, it's over with, now I can relax again. But there are some things like parenting, like work, like pandemics, whatever the stress is just doesn't go away after one day, one night, one event. And so there's really this long-term pressure and so fatigue, just oftentimes just feeling wiped out, low energy that your body has, and the effect on the immune system also. Studies will suggest that when stress is really acute over long periods of time, that we are more susceptible to catch colds, viruses, whatever's going on, just because our immune system has also gotten fatigued and worn down as well. Again, sleep probably goes in with that, appetite probably goes in with that. So we have to understand that listening to our bodies, listening to those around us who are saying, wow, you just seem a little less energetic. You just don't have that pep in your step, and we really need to be listening to the internal voice as well as the external voices around us. So let's talk about mood, how it affects mood when we're under stress. We talk about, that buildup of anxiety. Stress is really kind of that flight or fight syndrome as well, because our body's revved up to either run away from it or get into it with it. And so that free floating anxiety is like, okay, it's there. It's telling me I need to do something. I don't know really exactly what I need to do or how I need to do it, but I know it's there. And then sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but irritability, right? The edge that we get. And my wife will tell you, she'll say, okay, you're a little more stressed because your knife is a little sharper, you're a little edgier, you just have that irritability, quick response of not necessarily anger, but just agitation, right? And so that is, for me, that's probably my first tell if I'm stressed, is I get just a tad bit more agitated or irritable.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I didn't even think about that, or I didn't even realize that was one of my signs, I guess. But when COVID first hit us and everyone was quarantined and we were doing everything from home, so I was going to school from home, working at home, plus turned into a teacher as well. And a couple weeks into it, my 8-year-old was like, "Mommy, you're kind of snappy. Mommy, why are you talking like that?" And so that was a big reality hit, like, uh-oh, this is really projecting and it's now showing. It's not just internal anymore. This is now external. And it was something I knew I needed to really, focus on, take care of, and start separating everything and having limits on things. But being snappy apparently is something I do if I'm extremely stressed.
Yeah, I agree because especially with COVID, you had so many opportunities where you were working at home, like you said, and then you were in school, whether, at the same time, and then your children were in school. So a lot of times it was hard to turn off one thing to go to another. It's like it all blended together and you just felt overwhelmed. And that's just learning how to manage that, took some time.
Yes, exactly. Setting boundaries, that was a big thing, turning off work, once 4 o'clock hits, normally you leave the office and you're done. But at home, it was just so easy to just hop on and respond to a student really quickly or take care of something really quickly. So yes, just setting those boundaries, that was important.
Because I'll tell you what, being able to drive home, that 15, 20-minute drive that you didn't get when you were working remotely, that was a time to de-stress and put work behind you, put all the things that you're doing behind you, and then when you walk through the door, you might have different things, but hey, that's behind me. When 5:30, 6 o'clock comes in at home, and okay, now I'm gonna turn off the computer, and you turn around, it's like wow, here it comes right there in front of your face, and now you're dealing with some other things at the same time.
Exactly. Those 15, 20 minutes, those were luxuries we didn't realize were very important in our lives.
So yeah, the stress that manifests in that irritability, anxiousness, snappiness. I like that term. Kind of like a turtle snapping at you, or a dog snapping at you when they're a little bit agitated. The other side is the kind of the sadness when we get withdrawn. We're associated with kind of feeling depressed, where we're just almost not engaging at all. We're just kind of shutting down, if you will. And so some of us get that more reactive response, and others just kind of withdraw. And it's like, wait a minute, they usually are more talkative than that. I usually get a response out of them, and now I get nothing, crickets. And so we see people react that way too. As far as our behavior goes, what do we look for? So we say, all right, our body tells us this, our moods can tell us this. Now, what can certain behaviors, and obviously temper tantrums, adults can certainly throw temper tantrums, but our kids, that's how we kind of tell if something's going on with them. We see more temper tantrums with their behavior. But as adults, overeating or undereating, they feed the stress, right? I mean, that's a phrase. Then you associate, they talk about the freshman 15. We're talking to a college audience, not necessarily traditional college students, but they talk about the freshman 15. If you think about it, I mean, when you go off to college or you're in a different scenario, different situation out of your comfort zones, well, you get a lot of stress, and that could have contributed to the freshman 15 as well when we talk about that syndrome. But certainly eating is one of those things that can also be a tell. Like, when I'm sitting there and kind of worried and stressed, I notice I'm popping snacks into my mouth, or I'm putting extra portions on my plate, or I'm eating more carbohydrates, or whatever, how it manifests itself. The other side is losing your appetite, and that happens to a lot of people, where actually stress releases their stress hormones. So you got a lot of chemicals being released from your brain into your body, and some of those get into your stomach, kind of sour the stomach, and you lose appetite. But I don't know about you all, but have you ever heard or seen, has it happened to you or others around you as far as the appetite goes?
Yes, I'll lose my appetite if I'm overwhelmed, have too much going on. I'm not very hungry. Also not sleeping well, that will happen as well. And then it's just kind of a snowball effect, because you're not eating well, not sleeping well, and then, you're just less energized going forward.
Yeah, I'm kind of the opposite. I tend to pick up the little snacks a little bit more myself. If I'm stressed, I'm okay. I got to do this paper, or I got to, my daughter needs to go here, or my son needs to go there. And, well, let me grab this, let me grab that along the way. That's just, but you got to be, mindful of that as well, because that's obviously unhealthy for you.
And the other things we put in our bodies are that not necessarily us, but folks that are trying to manage stress. Obviously, alcohol. Folks that maybe are casual alcohol users, and stress picks up, the amount of alcohol may increase, just to create that sense of, okay, I want to lose my mind for a little bit, not think about it, turn my mind off. Certainly, alcohol, other types of drugs can do that. Those who use tobacco may have an increase in their tobacco use. But again, it is that mindfulness of what am I putting into my body? How much of it am I putting into my body? And why am I doing this? Why am I putting that into my body? And just being aware of what stress does. We talked about the social withdrawal, and which leads us to exercise in the cheat sheet that we're all working from, just to kind of keep us on point. When we talk about all these, when the body affects the overeating, undereating, the anxiety, the headaches, and things like that. Well, so what are the coping mechanisms that certainly, Erica, you've mentioned several, and Nathan, you've mentioned several, but relaxation techniques. So what are some of the relaxation techniques that maybe you personally use, or that you know of, or that you recommend to others, that really are designed to help us manage these waves of stress that come at us?
So me personally, I like Headspace. It's an app, and you can just use that anywhere, anytime. There's breathing techniques. There is mindful meditations on there. I also enjoy running and yoga. Those really help me. My husband will actually tease me if I'm really, stressed out, overwhelmed. I'm like, I need to go for a run. He's like, oh, you're just going to run away from your problems, literally. But I feel so much better, and I just come back and I feel energized. And I know that doesn't work for everybody, and it's important to find out what works for you and just finding out what is your happy place. But I think Headspace and Calm is another app, and I think it's really good for anybody to at least just try out and see how they like it. And a lot of people kind of get turned off from the sound of meditation, like it just doesn't sound right. But just give it a try, and even like a 1-minute breathing technique will even help, just a couple of ins and outs, and even that can make such a difference.
I know for myself, just kind of taking that time and relaxing, um, uh, like having a sense of meditation, like you said. I take walks, a lot of walks and things of that nature. Um, I read a lot, just trying to, and it's something outside of, work or school related or whatever, just something personal, just so that I can kind of relax my mind that moment, at that moment. Try to stay outside. I think sunlight, just having some sunlight, just that exposure really helps, because especially with COVID, we already isolating ourselves a lot. So it's easy to stay inside, and sometimes you just got to reduce your screen time, as they say, and just get outside and do a project or do something outside. Helps out a lot as well.
So, Erica and Nathan, you used my cheat sheet. That basically there are two things that I have to, when you address your stress and you're managing your stress, it's relaxation and exercise, right? Those really are the two things that we control, that we can control to manage stress. And Erica, you mentioned several different ways to tap into the relaxation, the mindfulness, and whether whatever you call it, prayer, meditation, listening to music, to sounds, relaxing sounds. Relaxation is so important because it's designed to just kind of settle down that restlessness that goes on with stress, settle down that obsessiveness that goes on in your mind and thinking about whatever it is that may be stressing us out. So relaxation can come in so many shapes, forms, and ways. It's finding your way, right? Finding what resonates with you, what you enjoy doing, what's easy for you to do. Some people might not find it easy to roll out a yoga mat and get the yoga balls and do all that kind of stuff. That's not their thing. Okay, we'll find a different way to relax. In the exercise piece, again, so many different ways to exercise. I don't run anymore just because I'm getting a little age on me and my knees and my feet aren't the same that they used to be. But like Nathan, I certainly get out and walk, and even if it's just 30 minutes a day, don't worry about the pace of it. But our bodies were made to move. I mean, we were designed to move. And Erica and Nathan, what are we doing right now? We're not moving. We're sitting down, and a lot of our job requires us to sit down. And so stress and sitting, stress and non-movement, that's not a good combination. So really we do. And if you come out to the parking lot here at the campus in New Bern, oftentimes you'll see our colleagues, during their lunch break, they're taking a 30-minute walk, a 15-minute walk. And again, it doesn't have to be a hard 30 or a hard 60 consecutively. If you got 10 minutes, go walk. And then 3 hours later, 10 minutes, go walk. That all adds up, and it's movement, and it's what we need to do. Because again, the hormones of stress that release into the body, that fight or flight, we need to move and burn. We need to burn that off. And it's just, again, our bodies are hardwired for that kind of movement to deal with stress. Before offices and buildings and concrete jungles and the urbanization of cultures and things like that, there was still stress involved. It was, where do we get our next meal, right? Where do we get our next dry home? Can we keep that fire going so it doesn't burn out so we can cook our food and stay warm? I mean, there was all kinds of stressors for the more primitive indigenous folks. So they were not immune from what it is to try to exist and coexist in communities, in neighborhoods, and with the elements of life. So throughout our walk of humanity, we've always been managing stress. We have to remind ourselves in a very modern age that movement is still one of the basic things we can do. What the vicious cycle of stress, and I'm reminded every time I get involved with somebody who's really going through stress that manifests itself in anxiety. We're talking anxiety to the point of panic attacks, anxiety to the point of being immobilized at times, or depression. Again, that can be very just immobilize our ability to function the way we normally function, to think the way we normally think, to process the way we normally process. And so when we're really into the throes of stress and anxiety and depression, we know we need to relax, do relaxation techniques, implement the coping mechanisms. We know we need to exercise, to walk, to run, to do yoga, whatever it is. But sometimes that stress is paralyzing. That anxiety, depression, stress is paralyzing. And the very things we know we need to do, we can't summon the energy to do it. And it's that vicious cycle. And I don't know about y'all, but, again, it's easy for us to say to folks, hey, you need to relax, you need to exercise, you need to do all these things. But we have to be mindful that sometimes when it's so acute and so intense, it's even hard to get off the couch sometimes. It's that immobilizing.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think it's important to communicate, stay connected, talk with people. And of course, moving around is very important. And you mentioned how we sit a lot, but also the way I see it, we're connecting right now. We're communicating, and that's also important. For people to know they're not alone and to reach out, talk to somebody.
And I couldn't agree more. I just think, as you got to be observant of yourself. You got to know if you're to the point to where you're not managing the stress well, you're not having the drive or the initiative to try to manage the stress because of the anxiety, or you're feeling paralyzed, and then at that time knowing when to seek professional help. I mean, life is going to have some stresses, so we always have to use those techniques to manage those situations. But we also need to be aware of the times where we can be so overwhelmed, like Erica was saying, like you were saying, Bill, that we take that time to reach out to someone and discuss this. I mean, that's why we have our services here. That's what we're here for, is to, hey, I've reached this point. Now what can I do to get any type of assistance?
Absolutely. So it all comes together and culminates in understanding as we advise people, not just their classes, not just their careers, their degree paths and things like that, but in the management of life and life stress. It does get to a point oftentimes where we say, start with going to the doctor, right? Because again, stress manifests physiologically, and we got to see if long-term stress has created some kind of a disorder with body organs, with body parts, and so we need a doctor to just kind of give us that once over and check us out, poke and prod a little bit and find out what's going on physiologically. Sometimes the body will create situations where it leads into the depression and anxiety just because we can't function the way that we normally function. So physiologically, seeing a medical doctor is important. And then, when they've assessed and said, hey, look, looks like you're dealing with some stress, some symptoms of anxiety and depression. Okay, so now we got to do these coping skills, coping techniques, implement relaxation, implement exercise, and connecting. And so at Craven Community College, we do have our counseling department. Erica is joining us in her internship. We're going to roll out what we call peer counseling, which is just another layer of someone listening, of someone kind of taking in what somebody's saying as far as what their stressors are, what they're doing, what they're experiencing. And then sometimes listening is enough. Sometimes talking is enough to help somebody, just as if you went and ran that 5 miles, right, Eric? After you run, whether it's 3 miles, 1 mile, 5 miles, you feel better afterwards, right? The body just feels better. And sometimes just letting out what's in your head, what's in your heart that is feeling heavy. Sometimes that's enough just to feel light, a little bit lighter, and a little more energy restored after letting that out. So we do have Kelly, part-time counselor, Erica, Nathan, myself. We're all here listening. Life's difficulties are a little more problematic in what we call more extended therapy or therapeutic intervention. We've partnered within our community with professional resources that provide long-term counseling, long-term therapy, post-traumatic stress disorder, and some grief things that take a while to unravel, as well as major depressive disorders, major anxiety disorders that may need some medication management along with therapy. So we kind of hand off those heavy lifts when it gets to that point. But I think we do a pretty good job of being available to our student population as well as our faculty and staff, because they're not immune from stress. They're not immune from life experiences and tragedies, challenges that go on. So we definitely want to, as we do these series, let folks know that we not only talk about it, but we're here to assist as well. Reach out to us. And if it's something that needs a little more attention, we have partnered with our community resources to do that, and it's all free of charge, so it's not costing anybody any money, but we'll get you to the right place. Which kind of leads us, Mr. Stout. I don't know if you're ready, but one of our coping tools are certainly the website, and on our website we have lots of counseling resources. References. You can do self-assessments, the apps that Erica was mentioning, You click on some of these links and it'll take you to so many different places that will have videos to watch, apps to plug into to help facilitate the relaxation strategies that we were talking about.
I'm ready, Bill. Go ahead and share my screen here.
All righty.
All right, so everybody should see the main screen at this point. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. So if you go to the main website, under current students, you will go to academic advising. And then on the left-hand side, you'll see a link for counseling services. And as Bill was saying, there's a lot of different forms for staff members as well as people. One of the service sources we used is ulifeline.org. It's, and you can just click on it. I'll click on the link for you. It has mental health questions and questionnaires. And Bill, if you want to jump in, if I'm missing something, just let me know. It has Ms. Taylor's information, who's the counselor here, as well as Mr. Bondurant as well. And then the videos that we offer are listed that we've done, with our Let's Talks topics. They'll be listed here as well. And these are some of the upcoming videos that we have. And then we just have all these different resources. Deals about anxiety, Military One source for our service members that's here. COVID-19 resources. It's just a wealth of information that you can take the time to look at and get used to.
Yeah, and if Kelly, our counselor, she's spent a lot of time putting the website together, intentionally, strategically, thoughtfully, getting the best websites that are out there that kind of have a very good reputation for offering information and resources that are legitimate. So again, I mean, we can spend a lot of time clicking on the links and taking you down the various rabbit holes. But please, if you're looking for opportunities, if you're looking for resources, to explore a little further mental health issues, disorders, treatments, those types of things, as well as just create your own therapeutic and relaxation and stress response, how you're going to handle it, how you're going to deal with it. It is just so critical to have a plan. I think the most troubling or upsetting thing was we work with people is when they don't have a plan to deal with stress, to deal with the byproducts of situations that they're dealing with in life. And we can't make people go to these sites. We can't make people do these coping strategies and techniques. But we know personally, as well as working with other folks, that when you do implement and use these strategies, it can make a very positive difference in somebody's life. And Erica, if you want to speak more to the testament of, yes, these things work. It's not just words; they actually work. But you have to. It's like a muscle. You have to exercise that muscle for it to grow. And these techniques, you do it one time, it's not going to fix it. It's repetition and repetition and repetition.
Yes, absolutely. Start off small. Just set little goals, small goals, and then work your way from there. And like the resources that we have available, absolutely utilize them. That's what they are there for.
All right. Well, we told Erica, said, hey, 40 minutes is going to go by and you're not even going to realize it's been 40 minutes. And that's about where we're at. And we try to keep these videos, around 30 to 40, just so folks aren't spending excessive amount of time. So we don't want you to lose attention. But again, we think these topics are so important. And again, our goal is to help students who are really doing all these things, trying to further their education, trying to further their careers, trying to balance their families with their jobs, with their educational, vocational goals. It really is a challenge, and that's where stress comes in. There's always going to be stress, and I think Nathan, you touched on it. Stress is not necessarily a bad thing. Stress helps us with that adrenaline, helps us with that motivation. But too much stress, long periods of stress, excessive amounts of stress, they do have negative impacts. And we just need to understand that, know how it affects us, know how it affects those around us, and then find ways to manage it and find ways to turn it into something positive that we can use in our lives and continue to rise to those challenges that come up. So I want to thank you, Erica, for joining us today to talk about this, and Nathan to talk about this. And of course, we'll have some more topics to go. Any last words? Any last parting thoughts?
Just thank you for having me, and just to our students and everyone out there, you're not alone. We are here for you, so come talk to us.
I echo the same. Just thank you for having us, and this is just a great topic to have, especially with the things that we're dealing with today.
All right, guys, I'm glad that you are part of my work family, and that we can connect like this and on other occasions that help us continue to do what we do. So appreciate you, and y'all take care.
Good day.